to how to use those vehicles and what types of things they might have put in the vehicles and where those might be carried from farm to grocery store, back to grocery store to farm. So they were having a really in-depth conversation that really was just leading itself. Where do you go to get your milk?
In the farm.
Research shows that teachers can have enormous influence on children's learning. Through a combination of educator-guided and child-directed activities, teachers help children extend what they're doing and to make meaning of their world.
That one has hair too? Oh, it does. We need to find out more about that. I wonder where we... What I love best about kindergarten is that the children come in with smiles on their faces and this freshness to the school system. And it's through that slow, gentle guidance of the teacher that we can really help children unfold and meet their fullest potential in the school systems. And this is where it all starts.
Inquiry-based learning sounds like a puzzle, but it's not. It's really a combination of a number of different skills that teachers use.
Blue on one side, and then I'm going to put some yellow on that side, and then we will see what happens, okay? So here we go.
It's relying on emotional intelligence of children, where we are, in fact, scaffolding their learning experience a la Vygotsky's theories, where we take a child to the edge of their ability and just give them that extra little gentle nudge that through questioning like, what do you think would happen if? And what if you had tried that? And can you think of a different way that you might be able to use that particular tool or resource?
Let's add a little bit more water.
And so it's encouraging children in a very basic way to be researchers, to puzzle through, to problem solve, to begin to think about what the next step in their learning could be, to help them to be responsible for their own learning.
Or is it harder?
Smoother.
I just wanted them to play with the materials, just to feel them, just to mix them, just to see what would happen when the water hit this cornstarch, because we haven't done that before in our classroom.
So what if we added some toys, some of our water toys? Do you think we could play with water toys with this stuff?
Yeah, but we need to get a little bit. But
You know what?
I try to ask them the questions so that they can come up with the answers themselves, and it makes their learning more real. It makes them take ownership over what they've done and what they've learned and discovered on their own because it's theirs. If I were to tell them, we're going to mix these two things together and this is what it's going to do and this is what it's going to be like and this is how it will feel, and then they did it, it wouldn't be as exciting and meaningful for them as if they just did it themselves.
As a principal of an elementary school, I'm very excited about the play-based and inquiry-based kindergarten and the role it plays in developing our wonderful little children. And I taught kindergarten for many, many years, and so as a principal, it is my love and passion to make sure that those children get exactly what they need to start their years. I feel that my role is to not only support the kindergarten teacher, but to inform and let the rest of the staff know exactly why we have the kindergarten program as a play-based program, and to ensure that the parents as well know why we are teaching kindergarten the way we are teaching kindergarten.
There's a considerable bank of research now on the impact that a principal has on new programs in a school. And one of the things we know is that when a principal supports a program, understands it, and provides for it in the principal's planning, the program is going to be more successful, the teacher is going to feel affirmed, and overall the learning experience will be better for children. There are other ways of encouraging inquiry in learning centers that are nonverbal in nature. For example, if the children have been accustomed to a block center, for example, that has multiple different kinds of blocks in it, after a week or so, you may want to introduce a different material to the block center. Putting tubes and marbles in a sand table, which has previously simply been a place to play with sand, will change the whole type of activity that the children engage in with sand, tubes, and marbles. So by combining unusual resources, by posing a question at a center that causes them to use the materials in a different way, we then have children working collaboratively to play games to see what they can learn in a very different way.
Oftentimes the children will take props from other centers, other parts of the classroom, and incorporate it in, across different centers, which is really neat to see. That was, them going into the dress-up box and finding the walkie-talkies, and I'm sure that that's something that they've seen at, other stores that they've gone into with their families. So they're just reenacting what they know.
How do you open the cash register? On last day. Okay. No, not that way. But I found that. How much did the binoculars cost?
One of the biggest lessons that kindergarten children have to learn in kindergarten is learning how to get along with each other. And so when they come to me in September, my focus in September is working on rules, routines, and strategies around problem solving. So we talk about sharing, we talk about trading, we talk about taking turns, we talk about rolling a dice to see who gets to go first in a dice game.
A growing body of research shows that intentional play experiences can support the development of self-regulation, one of the most important skills children will need for future academic success and for success in all aspects of their lives.
Self-regulation has a great deal to do with building bonds and forming relationships with others, and then working jointly with others in cooperative ways. And so by what we set up at a social dramatic center, for instance, where we're encouraging children to model ideal adult roles that they may have observed in a shopping market or a post office, and being able to coach them on the appropriateness of their behaviors through that kind of activity is a very important part of what we're offering in our learning centers.
Who's the cashier? The person offering? Okay, you're the cashier. Are you the store owner?
Self-regulation is about many of the skills teachers use in their classroom practice. Sharing ideas and solving problems together. Managing powerful emotions. Planning ahead and planning with others. Taking safe physical risks. Struggling through the hard parts to learn something new. Using language to resolve conflicts. A teacher who is sensitive to children's emotions will ask questions that help children interpret their feelings, label them, and regulate them in socially appropriate ways.
Daniel, what did Diego do that you didn't like?
I didn't like it when you put the ladybug on my face.
How does it make you feel?
Bad.
So what happened with Diego was there was an issue at the puppet center, and I think the little boy he was playing with, Daniel, put the puppet in his face, and he did not like that. And Diego came over and got me and said, and he explained to me what happened. And I'm happy to go back and coach the children through it because they are really and truly 5- and 6-year-olds, and they still need quite a bit of support.
Hi, guys.
It was very clear in observing that incident, which was very spontaneous in the classroom, that that teacher had worked with that group of children in a very positive and proactive way to teach them those steps, so that when the incident occurred, the opportunity was there for just a review. Not for dealing with the situation in a negative way, but rather turning it into a positive, constructive experience for the whole class.
Nikta, what's the problem?
The shark hit the bee.
The shark hit the bee. Let's see if the bee knows how to use his power talk. Can I get a 1, 2, 3, action?
Sure, I don't like when you hit me hundreds of times.
Makes me feel. And what Power Talk does is, because it's a formula, it gives the children set words to say. And in doing so, it empowers them because they know exactly what to say. And it also, it helps with the language barrier, because a lot of the children who come to me in September, they have limited English skills. And so by giving them a formula, it also allows them to be able to problem solve with their peers. Next time, please don't what?
Please don't what? Please don't hit me a million of times in my head.
Okay, I'm sorry. I won't do that again. The end. Now, Eric, is it okay now for Sharky, even though he said sorry and he said he'll never do it again, do you think it's okay for Sharky to do it again?
No.
Is that what a kind friend does?
No.
No. You know, it's not just about saying, stop, I don't like what you're doing. The other piece of it is that that person has to listen, and they have a responsibility as a kind and caring friend and respectful friend to listen to the requests of their peers.
Hey, Jim. Nice.
Effective kindergarten programs provide opportunities for children to interact with adults and other children in ways that build on children's natural curiosity and sense of wonder. And successful programs emphasize learning through play and inquiry.
One of the remarkable things about our modern day world is the tools we have at our fingertips now with the internet and the live searches that we can do with a moment's notice. I think when we start children in kindergarten, posing questions to them, encouraging them to explore, encouraging them to discover, encouraging them to ask questions, we are in a very positive way getting them ready for the world that is in fact going to be at their fingertips in very short order.
Show up, Sasha. T-E.
Butterfly.
Butterfly. Oh, wow. Katie. So first comes a butterfly, lays an egg. And then what? What is that? Let's see. Kazana, show them your card. Is that what happens next?
No.
What's he doing there? He's eating. Is that the right one? No.
So my intentions with the butterfly theme is to fulfill, obviously, the prescribed learning objectives that are set out by the ministry. With the pocket chart, for example, I'm trying to get the children to learn new sight words, which is a language arts PLO that they are required to learn. And I'm trying to teach them some of the letters, some phonemic awareness, listening to the first sound or the ending sound, some phonics. What sound does that letter make?
definitely ask questions
And then at the same time, I'm trying to get the children to stand up and move around, to come up and put things in the pocket charts. So it really engages those kinesthetic learners.
So when we talk about extending and deepening the experience, we're really talking about using the same prescribed learning outcome, but giving the opportunity to children to move from just a taste of the experience into deep thinking about the experience and into even deeper thinking by moving the play to a long-term project that could last in the classroom for as long as a month.
I want you to think about what stage are our caterpillars in?
Part of the purpose of that pocket chart was to also show them what they can do when they go to the centers on their own. There are butterfly-related activities such as the writing center. There's butterfly paper. In the art center, there are little butterfly shapes. We even have a science center where we have our caterpillars, which I showed during the language arts or the science lesson. And so they can go to that center and explore with a partner some of the questions that they have about caterpillars and butterflies.
Through this open-ended exploration, children work at their own pace and level as they identify, label, categorize, and reflect on their new discoveries and make sense of the world.
So what are you going to do with it now? Are you going to do something else on it? Or what are you going to do next? It's going to be a surprise. Ooh, I can't wait.
The teacher continues to make plans to guide the child's learning, but she makes adjustments as she observes what the child finds interesting.
You're going to make it a surprise. Oh, I see.
This is the emergent curriculum, where teachers' planning matches the spontaneity that arises out of a child's daily life.
I could imagine that the group of children there who are intensely interested in those pupa moving to the next step, I could see them becoming even more intrigued by the flight of the butterfly. There was talk of them going to see real live butterflies and starting to look at flight. Well, if a group of children, and particularly when it gets to be half the class are particularly interested, a teacher can easily move that into the next stage of what could we be exploring next that could be linked with butterflies? Is it wings? Is it flying? And then flying can become an intense interest in trying to fly kites, which leads us to a discussion of how we make kites and how we might make some in the classroom, and projects on whose kite can fly furthest when we take the beach trip and parents go along with us. And that might lead to talking about airplanes flying and bringing in an aviator to talk with the children about his experiences. And it can go on indefinitely until the children start to lose interest, and then it's time to move to something different.
And caterpillars bring cocoons to sleep in, and then they turn to butterflies. And that's the part they turn into butterflies. Yep, they do.
Which one is your favorite on here?
All of them.
All of them? Can I show you my favorite? Did you get an oval one, Cindy? What do you have in yours that's maybe?
A child's language development is one of the strongest predictors of early reading success. And we know that if children don't read by grade 3, it's an uphill struggle to help them reach high school reading levels that are absolutely essential for them to graduate. So paying attention to oral language as soon as we meet these children, and ideally even younger than kindergarten, in the Strong Start program, for example, is absolutely critically important.
This is the color of your zipper. This is turquoise.
And look at this one.
Oh, you've got a circle within a circle on this. Oh, and it's flat. What did you find?
Children learn language by using it. They learn language by hearing other children. They learn it by learning it from adults. So the more teachers are moving through the classroom, extending the children's vocabulary by proposing new words to them, by encouraging the class as a whole to practice the use of new words, all brings that excitement alive about language and is a very big investment in their reading success.
This one shimmers. Can you see? If you look in the light, this one shimmers. Do you think this one does? And this one?
Green.
And this one?
Red. Black.
What I would like us to do, if we could just stop for a minute. We want to be really careful because we've got lots of buttons and mats on the floor. If we could maybe come and just move up to the front, then we'll have a chance to look and see what other people have done.
A skilled teacher plans activities that encourage children to practice using language and to learn from each other.
Tyan, can you tell us? You were busy sorting.
Children thrive on new words and can hardly wait to go home and tell mom and dad the big one they just learned today.
There's a happy face on one of the button mats, okay? Anyone else notice something different or interesting about their buttons? What did it look like?
Animals.
Research affirms that observation with young children is the best way to do assessments. Through observing children, we discover what they know and where they need to go next. Observations help teachers plan next steps and extend and deepen children's learning.
Individual teachers will use their own style, but it's important that they pay attention to not just the immediate activity a child's involved in, but the series of activities that a child's involved in.
Over and over and over and over.
Children develop new skills and abilities one step at a time. And while teachers often see evidence of outcomes, the actual moments during which a child learns can be invisible to those outside the classroom. Many teachers have found their own ways to capture evidence of children's learning as it occurs. Documentation of the learning process might include portfolios, checklists, videos, scrapbooks, drawings, and posters.
It's so heavy.
A bed, okay, and I thought they were stairs.
We've learned a lot about the creation of learning stories, where a teacher, or in fact children, can be taught to document their own learning experiences through photographs, through representations of their work, and turn them into scrapbooks and portfolios that can be reviewed with families, can be a record of the child's progress through a particular skill or a particular project.
Okay. 29, 14, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46.
This is a learning story about how we all play in the same language, and it's focused on 5 children in our class, and they started out by, they invented a little game with singing and dancing and chanting movement. They continued, they made rules about the game, they decided how it was going to work, who was going to do what. They continued to change over the rules, and they didn't rely on me for anything in my intervention. This was completely independent. I was just snapping photos. Another little girl who does not speak the same language of these children at all. In fact, they all speak, these ones speak different dialects, and she speaks English. She asked, can she join in? They accepted her into the group, and she joined in the songs and the dancing, and they continued to play for about 5 minutes after that. So there was no language per se behind the play other than play itself. When I look at the picture, it reminds me exactly of what was going on at the time.
What is that?
It's really good for my reflection, and it's really easy. It's a really user-friendly, easy way to assess children.
These are very important ways that reinforce for a child that they are indeed learning, and they can review their progress and celebrate their progress along the way. So, very powerful way to make meaning out of the children's learning over the long term.